Hello, everybody, and welcome to High Trust Coaching Live. I am Hope Bourman, and I am the Divisional President of High Trust Coaching. And I have with me today one of our newly certified High Trust coaches, Lisa Wills. Hi, Lisa.
Good morning. How are you?
Wonderful. How are you today?
Awesome. Glad to be here.
Super excited to have you here with us today. So, Lisa, I'm going to let you introduce yourself a little bit, let everybody know who you are and how amazing you are. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm currently in Tampa, Florida. I've been here for the last 15 years. I've been 14 years in the industry. I was in banking most of my career up until last year. I worked on the wealth team with several major banks and then decided to make a change and do something different. So now I'm in the broker correspondent world and absolutely loving it. Opened a branch here, actually opening Florida for the company. So it's been an exciting ride, but definitely a transitional year. Very, very exciting though. And then I've been with High Trust Coaching. I think we just determined it's been 3 years and just recently graduated to the master level. So very, very excited. And now a High Trust coach myself, so I can share all the wisdom that you've shared with me.
Absolutely. And that, the thing is, so one of the key elements of being a High Trust coach is you have to be a master of the High Trust coaching methodology, business practices. And you have truly, over the last 3 years, truly mastered it, Lisa. You've embraced it, you've implemented it, and you've really, truly mastered it. So anyone coaching with you is going to get a tremendous amount of value.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And you're my coach, so that says a lot. That says a lot for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Lisa, 2019, you were on stage. You were on stage on Sales Mastery stage in 2019? Were you not?
Last year, was it last year? Yeah, because 2020 was the new one online. Yes, it was last year. The last one we had a stage and no COVID.
You're right, exactly. So that was a real breakout year for you. Can you tell us a little about where you started in January of 2019, where you ended up?
Oh my goodness. So I had just completed the first year of coaching, and I think when I first started, I was somewhere around the 25 to 30 million mark, and just couldn't understand how to get any higher, how to do more volume. And really, there was only two choices. You do more loans or you do higher loan sizes. That's how you build your volume. And I didn't have any more time to take on more loans. So at that time, I just realized that I needed a change. I had to do something different, and I didn't know how to do it. So that's why I got into coaching in the first place. And then we got through the first year, and I started implementing the things that we had discussed. And what I realized was, first of all, the hourly rate was mind-blowing. Reading time traps was mind-blowing. Those two things are probably the first two implementations that I made in my business that transformed everything. And then from there, it was just one law after another. But I started at that 25-30. I think I was even at $27 an hour because I had never looked at hourly rate before. That was a huge eye opener for me. So you and I worked on that. And then the following year, 2019, I did 58 million. So I more than doubled. And yes. I can't remember. I think I was it 350? I can't remember now. It's something around that. I went from $30 an hour to $350 an hour. So, and there was a couple times in there where I had some huge months where I actually got up to $800 an hour. So it was just a total transformation of the way I viewed business and the way that I did business, even going down to doing 55-minute hours. I tried to implement everything I could after seeing such a big transformation. So that's what really propelled me into making a decision actually to go into the correspondent world.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, I think one of the things that I've always noticed about you is just how fearless you are. You just kind of jump in and go after it, and it's what's wonderful to be a part of that with you, Lisa. So thank you for that. So as we're coming to the end of 2020, pretty much everyone in our industry has had record-breaking years. Well, and some of them this year, 2020 has been, the best year of their entire career. The MBA forecasts for 2021 are basically telling us that refinancers are going to be half of what they were this year. And there's a tremendously big opportunity in the purchase market. So Lisa, which is where we all need to be focusing, which is our referral partners, our relationships, and our purchase, transactions, and our purchase process and systems. So which of the 14 laws would you say, Lisa, was most impactful for you in building the right relationships in your business?
Wow, that's a great question. So I would say the most important law, and I always say this, I'll stick to it forever because it was such a mind-blowing thing for me, is the law of the iceberg. The true measure of our success isn't seen by our clients. And that's so true. It's the why, it's what we do. And I remember when you and I had that conversation, it was an emotional call because I really got down to why I do what I do. And that's what really motivates and gets me up in the morning and gets me excited to know why I do what I do. So I would say that's the most important law, but every law builds on that, right? So now we're in a different time period in our industry where it's predicted and it's starting to turn, where refis are slowing down, and now we're in a purchase market again, right? So how are we going to handle that if, the majority of our business, or at least half of our business, has been refi this year? Mm-hmm. So I think for me, the two laws that I have focused on and that I am going to continue to focus on in 2021 is the law of the courtship and the law of the hook, because for me, those are really the most important laws to really get down and be able to apply and to impact your business. So the law of the courtship, for a relationship to be good on the outside, it must first be good on the inside. So what does that mean? Well, that's the high trust interview. That's finding out what other people's why is.
Right.
And I remember the first time that I did the high trust interview, right? So I had been to Academy and I came back and I was ready to apply everything that I had learned. And I wanted to do the high trust interview because I saw how impactful that was. Not asking somebody for business, but providing a valuable service that people respond to and would want to work with you with, right? And a reciprocal business where I can also give referrals back, right? So that really spoke to me at Academy. So when I came back, I wanted to do that. And I remember I had a coaching call with you that week, and I wanted to try it before we did our call. So I did. I picked up the phone and I just did the script, and I probably hacked it up pretty bad, but I did it, and I got the meeting, which blew me away. I couldn't believe that I got the meeting, and then over time I've made it my own. But that first one really surprised me. So I sat down, I prepared for the interview exactly how I learned to do it at Academy, and we had the interview, and I couldn't believe within 5 minutes, it's not a gimmick. It's not things that you say to get people to do business with you. It's really a human connection. And it's so different than what our industry focuses on, right? Which is transactions, right? We sat down and I just started asking her questions, and we got to the why of what she does. Mm-hmm. And she had she's a very, very high net worth, huge whale of a realtor here in our market, and she has a disabled son. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when we got down to why she does what she does, mm-hmm. there were tears.
Yeah, exactly. And
it was a human connection. It truly was. And from there, I told her that I wanted to be able to help her win any way I could, which goes into the second law. But you were going to say something. I think I interrupted you.
That's okay. Absolutely. No, I wanted you to finish. So, and I think that what's important is that sometimes, you mentioned a minute ago that, that you were apprehensive. But you just did the script and you probably hacked it up. And that's, I think, the biggest conversation that we have with our coaching members is it doesn't have to be perfect and it doesn't have to be exact. And you can, over time, will make it your own. I had a conversation. We have a lot of new Canadian clients with High Trust Coaching. And so this is their first introduction to Todd, Duncan, to High Trust and our methodologies. And they've absolutely embraced it in such a big way. But they're not as familiar with the High Trust interview. So that's something we're spending a lot of time on. And one of the most, and this is what's going to set those people apart in their market. In any market, is being able to have those kinds of conversations, asking those kinds of questions, and doing what we call in our world a pattern interrupt right from the very beginning.
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. And it's funny that you said that because that's exactly what it is, right? It doesn't matter if you're perfect or not the first time you do it. You're doing something different than any other call they're getting is
Yes,
doing. And
yes,
because you're really trying to make a connection. And
yes.
then once I saw that, wow, it is so impactful. And that realtor is still a very close friend of mine to this day. Because we made that human connection. And that was a new thought for me too. Am I not supposed to just do business with everyone? No, because that's another law, right? We pick and choose who we want to do business with, and we choose the people that we truly want to help be successful. And that was a new thought for me as well. So yeah, you're absolutely right that it's a different conversation than they're hearing from any other lender, guaranteed.
Yeah, I think that was the aha moment for you, Lisa, in in completely changing your platform and the paradigm of the agents that you worked with. That and to having that target and that idea and going after and working with agents that were in that affluent market, thereby increasing your average loan amount, thereby increasing your hourly rate, thereby increasing and actually I think that you enjoyed working with these professionals more, that they were more in alignment with how you do business.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. It's the alignment, right? That's so important because we in this industry, right? We just try and work with anybody. If we have 10 agents, we're happy to take all their business. But it was a different mindset because being aligned with somebody is much different than just taking business, right? Because now I'm completely invested in their success as well. So it's a true partnership. And who do you want to do business with? You want to do business with high producing, low maintenance type of individuals because that's what makes you happy and that's what makes me happy. So that's what I started really going after and weeding out the other relationships that just didn't align with my values.
Mhm. That's very, very true. And a lot of the conversations we're having with our coaching members right now is, they've been busy doing refinances and maybe have not stayed as connected with their referral partners. But this is year end, and this is a perfect time to be doing those end of year mastermind calls, those business planning conversations, even if it's Zoom, to be having those conversations and reiterating what does 2021 look like for you? What does success at the end of 2021 going to be for you? And it's such a great opportunity to reconnect.
Yeah, I agree, and that goes right into the law of the hook. A captive audience stays to the end,
That's
and
right.
that's what we want. We want true partnerships, and really that law it goes hand in hand, and that's why I said the two laws because that one I really feel that's satisfying or being able to support all the values and things that you uncovered in the high trust interview, right? And that's where the impactful relationship happens, but
Mhm.
it takes time. And so for me, it has been difficult this year because the majority of the calls that we were getting were refis, right? And now those have kind of settled down, and I'm not waiting till the first of the year. I'm setting up my appointments now. So I'm having those conversations again, and I'm developing and deepening those relationships again. And it's actually a really fun process because you're working with your friends.
Yeah, and that's terrific. So, talk to me a little bit about that conversation. I'm glad, I'm glad to hear that you actually have already executed on meeting with some of those your established relationships and having those, your business planning conversations. So, what if those conversations kind of sounded like, Lisa? What are the questions you're asking and that type of thing?
Yeah, and it's exactly that, right? And that's the phone call. It's let's start planning now. We know what the shift is going to be. And for
Yeah.
our realtor partners, they're going to be busy because busier than they are now because that's the shift. It's a purchase market.
Hmm.
So what can we meet now before the first of the year hits while we're in this kind of lull period over the holidays? Can we meet now and let's start strategically putting together a plan of how we're going to attack next year and
Hmm.
what I can do to support you and maybe some ideas that we can come up with to continue growing your business.
Hmm.
So those are welcomed calls, especially at this time of the year. It's the best time to do it. Don't wait till January. Do it right now while the realtors have the time.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true, and it's a great way to reconnect. So you don't have to. I think that there's a little bit of I don't know, maybe a little bit of anxiety around calling your agent that you haven't spoken to in a few months, right? And
Totally.
this is just a great reason to pick up the phone and reconnect. Let's do our planning for 2021. Thank you for your partnership.
Yep.
Thank you for this year, and this is what we've accomplished this year together. Congratulations to us, and then what do we want to be doing in 2021? What does 2021 look like to you, and and we can even do something questions like this time next year. We're sitting here December 2021. You've had an amazingly successful career. What does that look like?
Absolutely. That's a great, that's getting back into the high trust interview. That's fantastic. I'm adding that. That's a phenomenal question. No, it's true. I have felt kind of that angst, just like everyone else, right? I'm able to kind of push past my fear because I have a different view of fear now than I had before coaching. I recognize that, it helps make us better people. And if we can, there's going to be setbacks on the way to true mastery, right? So if we learn from them and keep plugging along, we're going to be fine. So I have that angst as well. And but I called a realtor partner I hadn't talked to since I left my previous job because I had set that partnership up with that wealth team, and I didn't want to kind of step over the boundaries. But I found out they weren't working together, so I just called and I was nervous. I didn't know what to say, and she immediately said, "I've missed you. Like, where have you been?" And I thought, wow, that's in your mind you might think, oh, well, I don't want to, do that relationship because I set it up somewhere else. But really that person was doing business with me because of the high trust interview, because of the partnership that we had, and because how hard I worked to get her business. So now we're discussing setting up the same type of referral partnership with some of the FAs that she knows. So it just really goes to show you, really the fear's in our own mind, and that's where we block ourselves. The horizon is out there, and that's what we can achieve if we're willing to just get past that fear.
Yeah, I think that what we don't, when we do a high trust interview and with our referral partners, and that's the foundation of our relationship, I think that we may forget the impact we've made on them. I mean, that response from your real estate agent saying, "Where have you been?" You've made an impact on her. Not, clearly on her business, absolutely, but an impact on her personally, right?
Truly, yeah, and we're friends. So it's funny that I thought that in the beginning, but it was the wrong thought. So my going into 21 mantra is don't overthink it, just go for it. So yeah, it's so true. But in this environment, it's necessary. It's not just true, it's necessary. We have to be able to overcome that.
One of the things that I've been thinking a lot about, one of the conversations I've been having with a lot of our coaching members, especially at master level, is what is your next big move? Lisa, you made a very big move this year.
I did.
Big transition, and it was a giant leap. Can you talk to us a little bit about, what motivated you to do that, and what supported you the most as far as going through that transition? Because it was a big transition for you.
It was a huge transition. So I had a very, very successful model where I was, and I knew where the market was going. Obviously didn't know about COVID, but knew where the market looked like it was going when I made this decision. So I knew that we were on track to double again. So I would have been over 100 million last year or this year. But that wasn't what was important to me. I had to go back to my why. And my why helped me to appreciate that even though it was a great opportunity, and I value it very much. I value the relationships I made there, and I'm very grateful to have had that opportunity. It wasn't what I really wanted to do. What I really wanted to do was to be able to have my own branch and to grow my own business. And I realized that had I stayed, the only thing that was going to change was I would be 1 year older. That's another mantra. So if I'm going to make a decision to do something, even though it's a hard decision, especially in this market where I had to ramp back up to speed and learn new systems and hire new personnel, and it's been a very long transitional year. I feel like we're pivoting towards being able to reach that success again. But it was worth it to me. it was worth the growth to me. And what was the most supportive, honestly, it was our conversations. It was sitting down and really saying, you know, hope. And I remember when I told you that I was going to do it, and you said, no, don't do it. And I said, no, this is really what I want. So we had a heart to heart, and you're like, okay, well, I support you if that's what you want to do. So we just started planning it, and I implemented the things that we discussed, and we set some really high, audacious goals, and here we are. So it really, you can't do this alone. You can't reach true mastery alone. This isn't a me business. So having coaching and really applying Todd's rule of 10% or 20% back into your own growth, and really understanding why you're doing what you're doing, because it isn't really about the money. The money's great, and that's definitely a perk, and we can do all kinds of things with that and support our families. But at the end of the day, what do we really want to do? And I just realized I didn't want to do what I was doing. I didn't want to work, 40 to 70 hours a week, which is what I was working. Even though I had help and I was building a team, it wasn't what my goal was. My goal was really to be able to inspire and help others.
Right, exactly. And I know that that there were some scary moments that that you had, was like
terrifying moments. Yes.
But the why pulled you through it.
Absolutely.
Bringing back, it's kind of, in our conversations, going back to, we've committed to this. We're doing this, and you will be great, and it will be fine. And just don't forget your why. And I think that's what pulled you through. It's kind of that pull power that Todd talks so much about. Is if you're really seated in your why, when it gets a little scary and you start to doubt a little bit, your why is going to pull you right through it.
Absolutely. And you kept reminding me of that. So that was a huge support for me, because, it can get scary to make a huge transition like that. But I just knew that's what I wanted to do, and the vision I had of my life and my future, especially after the vision board that we put together last year. After Deb did that incredible presentation on vision boards, I just realized my life didn't look like that where I was, and I needed to make a change for it to do that. So that's really, truly the support that I got.
So Lisa, you're building some new referral partner relationships. You're reconnecting with your current referral partners, and you're also having some new conversations. So what are those conversations sounding like right now, and how are they serving you?
It's interesting. I've just gone back to the basics, right? I've gone back to the initial high trust interview that I learned at Academy, 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now. I've just gone back to the basics, and it's the same conversation. It's the same questions. It's the same uncovering values and issues and things that people are dealing with in their own lives. And it's the true connection of deciding if you align, and if you do, how you're going to do that relationship, how you're going to mold it, how you're going to build it, how you're going to support it, and how each of you are going to interact in it. And that's what those conversations are like. So I would say 3 years later, it's pretty much the same conversation. It's not rocket science. It's just, I might be a little bit better at asking the questions or going a little bit deeper than I was in the beginning, but the structure is there, and it just works. It truly works. And like I said, it's not a gimmick. It's a true connection with people.
Absolutely. So, talk to me a little bit. I'm curious, what is some of the feedback that you're getting right now with regard to the stress or concerns? I guess is a better way of putting it. What are some of the current concerns that the agents are sharing with you right now? With regard to 2021 and how they're going to be able to grow their business?
Well, I'll tell you, I've had several conversations like that this week alone already, and a very long one the other night. And the lack of inventory is truly terrifying to a lot of agents. Like, I recently put my house on the market. I was the only house on the market in my area, and I'm in a pretty big area at that price point. And the first walkthrough was an offer. They're terrified about the fact that there just isn't a ton of inventory. The builders are overwhelmed and trying to keep up, but there just isn't. They're doing less business, not because there's less business to do, but just because there's less homes to sell. Mm-hmm. And that's been a big concern for them.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's and that is in some markets, and that's actually in several of our markets. When we're
Yeah.
talking to our coaching members all over the country, in Canada and Australia, there is that issue, that the inventory issue. Here in California, we don't have as much of that, but it's still very, very much alive. So that is when you become, the partner, not the vendor, right?
Yeah,
That's when,
totally.
okay, this is where it's at. What are we going to do, and how are we going to overcome this, or how are we going to win this market?
Absolutely. And another big stress lately because of the refi boom and just um uh, MLOs are just so overwhelmed with business and have been all year. They're not getting callbacks.
Mm.
They're not being kept up to speed on, where the file really is. They're having to make all the calls to figure out what's happening. And it's very stressful. So my advice is, man, treat your realtor partners with love, and pick up the phone when they call, even if you're in the middle of something, and let them know put systems in place. There's technology. There's no excuse for not having systems in place at this day and age with technology. You can set up templates in your email just to do milestone announcements to the entire team, so everybody knows what's happening. That would catapult you ahead of anyone else in a service sense right now, because that's their biggest complaint.
Yeah, that's a very important point, and it's something that I've been hearing. I've been hearing in most of my conversations with our coaching members, is that has kind of fallen by the wayside. That communication, that connection,
Yeah.
that follow up, has followed by the wayside simply because of capacity.
Absolutely.
An interesting conversation yesterday with one of our master level members, and she told me yesterday, which it was like a breath of fresh air, because she said, "Hope, my business has actually become better because I've hired more staff, I've implemented more systems, and I am more automated now. And so my actually in the midst of all of this." All of this business that's been coming in, and the volume of business that's been coming in, I've actually become a better lender. And I was just so pleased to hear
That's
that.
beautiful. I love that.
It was really wonderful.
Yeah, that's
And I think
fantastic.
more and more of us are thinking, more and more of us in the industry are thinking about automation. And there's so many amazing systems out there right now that will do that for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's really the last law, which is very important as well, because if the law of the encore is so important, because that's the long-standing relationship. It's not hard to get realtor partners in the initial interview. It's not hard to do a couple of deals with them. But it's very, very difficult to keep that sustained over time.
Mhm.
And so that's the love that we need to show our partners, especially right now, because while they have needed us all of this time, now the 2021, we need them very, very much so. So it's truly a partnership, and we can support one another, but we have to keep that sustained over time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Lisa. It's one thing to build and establish that trust, and it's quite another to keep it, to maintain,
Absolutely.
right, to sustain that trust. And that's what's most important in having a sustainable, profitable career in this industry, is to do that. Becca Vliven, hello, Becca. I just wanted to comment on your comment. So Becca is telling us, agents love weekly time updates. Do
Yep.
this every week without fail. So important. And what that brought to mind was time blocking.
Oh yeah, and I love time blocking. That was a huge transition for my business, but it has just been one of the most important things that I've ever done. One of the most important changes I've ever made was time blocking.
Yeah.
It truly is a necessity, especially in our environment, where the phone rings there's just so many little details constantly, right? We're constantly multitasking and going, but if we don't, our day can get away from us if we don't stop and just realize that we've just spent 3 hours in the red zone and we haven't done any income generating things in the green zone. Not just because business is good today, but what's that going to look like in 2021? Because what we do today is where we're going to be a year from now. So it's so important.
Yeah, exactly. Red zone, green zone. Take 1 minute.
That's it.
Red zone, green zone. What's red zone, green zone, Lisa?
Well, the red zone is all the things that we do to babysit our pipeline. It's all the little things that we do on the back end, the production side, and it's necessary. But if you don't get the green zone in there, which is our income producing activities that keep the business going after we close these deals, and that's really where a team comes in. And I'm so grateful that you shared that experience of that MLO who got better this year because she recognized what was needed and she hired the people to do it. That's so important, so that we can stay in our superpower zone, which is what I call it.
Well, that's being intentional about your business and not being at the effect of it. Yes,
Absolutely. Yeah. It's basically managing your day and not letting the day run away from you. Absolutely.
very, very possible too. It's very doable.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so we're coming to the end. I can't believe it. I knew this
I
conversation.
know, it went so fast.
So I have two things. I have a message and I have an invitation. So the message is for all of our existing coaching members. We want to, obviously acknowledge you. We want to thank you for investing in yourself. And thank you so much for being the very best part of High Trust Coaching. And my invitation is to everyone. And that is, if you're thinking about getting coaching, or if you're having want to get more information about what High Trust Coaching can help you and support you in 2021, I invite you to schedule a free coaching call today. And also go into High Trust Today, go in there and tell me, what is your next big move for 2021? I want to hear.
Me too.
Me too. Thank you, Lisa. This has been so much
fun. Appreciate it. This was fun.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and have an amazing, outstanding week.